As we spend Memorial Day honoring the men and women who died while serving the US military, I can't help but think about some of gaming's most beloved war franchises like Medal of Honor and Call of Duty. But instead of talking about a series that people actually like, I figured I'd go back in time and talk about Army Men, a franchise that has practically been forgotten about in 2023. While time may not have been kind to 3DO's long-running series, I wondered what Electronic Gaming Monthly thought of these little toy soldiers. Did they hate this series as much as everybody else? Or was there an Army Men game that the review crew actually recommended? Now, in case you're wondering, Electronic Gaming Monthly reviewed a total of 12 Army Men games between 1999 and 2004. They could have covered more, but this was one of the very few franchises that EGM just gave up on reviewing. After Army Men Sarge's War, EGM handed all future games to Seanbaby, who had his own column mocking the worst games in existence. What we're gonna do today is count down the best and worst Army Men games using Electronic Gaming Monthly's own words and scores, not including the titles humorously covered by Seanbaby. There's no editorializing here, we're just gonna focus on what the critics said back when these games first came out. So go and grab a fake plastic toy gun and paint yourself green, because we're about to go to war when EGM ranks the Army Men series.
Damn yuppies.
Introducing Army Men 3D for the PlayStation game console. Real combat, plastic men.
Up first, at number 12, is Army Men Green Rogue on PlayStation 2. This game is so obviously unfinished, so obviously rushed out the door, so obviously completely half-assed that I feel sorry for anyone who has or will come in contact with it. Personally, the idea of some old-school Ikari Warrior-style shooting action sounds great. Little did I know that I'd be saddled with amateurish graphics next to no effects, lame power-ups, and plodding, monotonous, repetitive gameplay. Now with some cool bosses, satisfying explosions, background interaction, different enemies, something, anything. Mindless fun for 15 minutes, and then it's just mindless. Number 11, Army Men World War on PlayStation. Countless glitches, can't strafe, dark, ugly graphics, flawed concept, pathetic AI, frustrating gameplay. Whether I cut loose with a stream of consciousness rant about Army Men World War, and I've screamed plenty of random stuff while playing this sequel, I can't for the life of me come up with one positive thing to say. Okay, maybe the levels are mercifully short, and the sound effects are very nice, but otherwise the uninspired, sloppy gameplay here just ain't fun. Even the two-player game, which was the best thing about the original, has been dummied down. Ugh, stick with Medal of Honor for your warfare fix. Number 10, Army Men Sarge's Heroes on the Nintendo 64. Games just don't get much blander than this one. I felt myself slipping into a coma as I trudged my way through each mind-numbing level of Army Men. I realized the little plastic Army Men come in only 2 colors. But why does the rest of the game have to be so damn ugly? I've seen more polish on a dusty desk. It just seemed like 3DO's goal was to slap it together and ship it out. The animation is very choppy, the controls are stiff, and the enemy intelligence give the toys a bad name. The basic idea behind this game isn't bad, but I wouldn't be caught in a foxhole, plastic or otherwise, with this development team. Number 9, Army Men Sarge's Heroes on the Dreamcast. What we have here is a straightforward port of 3DO's Nintendo 64 original, which wasn't that hot to begin with. And all the little problems pop up here. Look, when I press the jump button, I want to jump, darn it! In Sarge's Heroes, you usually need to slap jump a few times to make your character leap. And by that time, he's probably headed someplace you don't want to go, like a full sink. Control is unresponsive at exactly the wrong times, particularly when you're under attack. The only thing worth playing is the 4-player mode. It moves at a good frame rate, and the old sniper rifle's fun to use on your buds. Number 8. Army Men Sarge's War on the GameCube. Why blow good De Niro on Sarge's War when you can replicate the experience for free? Step 1. Dump a bag of tan toy army men in any room of your house. Step 2. Dart from one piece of furniture to another while blasting the tan toys with a cap gun. Step 3. Rearrange the toys and furniture slightly and then start again at step 2. Ka-ching! You saved yourself $50. Better still, you won't have to battle through the game's repetitive levels, most of which are just subtle variations of the previous stage, and deal with the iffy control. Why won't old Sarge shoot when I press fire? Things liven up in the end, but by then the horrors of war had me in a glazed-eyed daze. Number 7. Army Men, Sarge's Heroes on the Nintendo 64. This game looks good, packs a cool story, and oozes with authentic battlefield conditions like big explosions, chaotic troops, etc. And then, the whole thing is spoiled by one of the worst game cameras ever! The damn camera is too slow to pan in the direction you need. Zooming way out helps, but then the game gets choppy. If you can deal with all that frustration, you'll be rewarded with some decent missions. Too bad the multiplayer isn't more exciting. Number 6. Army Men Sarge's Heroes 2 on the PlayStation 2. Whether you like the Army Men games or not, Sarge's Heroes 2 comes this close to being a worthwhile purchase. Mission objectives are fair, the graphics are occasionally slick, the control is decent, and the variety of things to do is fine. Yet 3DO needs to learn how to button up the things that could take this game to the next level. The AI is so stupid that Vicky will just stand there vacantly firing at a crate during one of the early missions. The Tan Army is even worse. And why does Sarge have a real-time shadow but Vicky only gets a gray blob? Inconsistency mars what otherwise would have been a very decent game. Number 5. Army Men 3D on the PlayStation. For the most part, Army Men is a fun 3D search and destroy action game. But it could have been so much better with some simple tweaks. It needs save checkpoints, better war ambiance, easier to read maps, a strafe move, and better controlling vehicles. On the plus side, it has decent sniper action, cool weapons, especially the flamethrower, and most importantly, a really fun 2-player mode. Check it out just for that. Number 4. Army Men Air Attack on the PlayStation. This is a logical next step for the Army Men series, but the minute I see Army Men cart, it's time to run for the hills. But seriously, this is, at least for me, one of the easiest of the Army Men games to pick up and play, and in my opinion, the most fun of the series. Little touches like the bugs that scream "we're free" when you release them and the ability to pick up items and drop them on your enemy just made this all the more fun to play. Number 3. Army Men RTS on the PlayStation 2. Now this is where the console Army Men series should be heading. The plastic material is a perfect fit for a strategy game, but is Army Men RTS any good? If you're not a real-time strategy general who's lived and breathed Command and Conquer on through Empire Earth on the PC, then I'd tell you that this one ain't that bad. It's very basic, perfect for the younger gamers or those who are new to the genre. The designers even made the controls and interface super friendly, so even if console RTS war was hell for you with titles like PlayStation 1 Command and Conquer, this game should be very easy to manage. Army Men RTS has simple gameplay, plenty of units, and lots of missions. Just don't expect a ton of depth. Number 2, Army Men Air Attack 2 on PlayStation. If 3DO wants so badly for Army Men to become a decent franchise, and they obviously do, they need to stop making junk like Sarge's Heroes and put their energy towards games like Air Attack 2. While it still goes a little overboard on the whole green plastic soldier theme, Air Attack 2 is a good improvement over the first Air Attack and is actually fun to play. The worst thing is the high camera angle, which cuts down your field of vision and makes any incoming attackers difficult to get in your sights. Fortunately, the control is simple and tight, and most importantly, the game is fun to play. 3DO, take note. This is the direction Army Men should be taking. And finally, at number 1, Army Men Air Attack 2 on the PlayStation 2. In a sea of mediocre games for the PlayStation 2, here is one that's actually worth purchasing. Air Attack 2 is basically a clever lift of EA's Strike games. But where that franchise concentrated on strategy, this game sets its sights on arcade action. The control is tight and intuitive, levels are intelligently designed, and the graphics are surprisingly good. It's a tough one to put down, especially if you play in cooperative mode. No slowdown, kids. If there's one con, it's that the game's a bit on the easy side, but a staggering number of levels more than makes up for that. This is substantially better than any other Army Men release. Sarge may make a fan out of me yet.
Captain, I need air support here.
Heading 260 inbound rear payload.
Turn that off.
Now that's ballet!
Introducing Army Men Air Attack. Now cleared for takeoff on the PlayStation game console. Real combat, plastic men.
Hey, thanks for watching me break down these classic reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new EGM Ranks episodes almost every week. In just the past few months, we've looked at The Legend of Zelda, Bubble Bobble, Ridge Racer, Super Mario, James Bond, Ninja Gaiden, Tomb Raider, Bomberman, and more. So much more. We have a whole playlist with all 40 episodes, so I recommend that you give that a look. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's your favorite war or military game? Is it one of these Army Men titles, or maybe you prefer Battlefield, Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, or even Sniper Elite? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back later this week with a review of Tiny Thor, Lost Epic, and The Lone Blade. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.